Well, this here is the Porsche Cayenne, and if you're on the market for a car which offers you the looks and presence of an SUV, the comfort as well as luxury cabin of a saloon, but still manage to drive like a sports car, then this is your only choice in the market. Why do I say that? We'll find out on the review today, but before that, let me just request you to follow me on Instagram. My handle is Ashish Masih 1. You can also follow the team at Autoportal _India. And if you want car buying advice, then follow me on Twitter as well with the same handle. Now let's jump inside and tell you what makes the Cayenne so special. Well, the first thing you'll immediately notice about the Cayenne's cabin is the quality here. It is absolutely brilliant. It'll simply smack you in the face with its sheer quality levels. And I have to say that for sheer opulence and luxury, this cabin feels like a very special place to be, and it really feels very opulent as well. What I really like about the cabin is the fact that the dials are in typical Porsche design, and the center design here, the center dial here rather, is of the rev counter, and it is analog. The other dials are all digital, but this one is still analog, so that's a nice touch from Porsche. And in terms of the cabin quality, as I just said, it's phenomenal. You get a lot of soft touch buttons over here. There's a huge screen which is great to look at. It has great legibility, and it's also nice and easy to operate. And this whole center console here, the center tunnel over here, separates the occupant as well as the passenger, so it feels like you're actually sitting inside the cockpit of an airline. It really does feel very special and makes you feel special. Special mention, of course, has to be made about this clock. It really looks sporty, and as I just said, is a neat touch inside the cabin of the Cayenne. Overall, in terms of overall cabin ambience, quality, as well as that special wow factor, I would give it a strong score of 9 out of 10. Well, you also get these grab rails over here, which also add to the sense of being inside an SUV. But the best part is the sheer list of equipment that you get on this car, because you get a whole host of features. You of course get air suspension, you of course get ESP, traction control, hill hold assist. But in terms of sheer leg room, this car is massive. As you can see, headroom also is more than sufficient. And of course, if you're about 5'10", 5'11", you should be comfortable. Even if you're about 6'2" or 6'3", you have loads of space. You also get dual zone climate control at the back, which is great. And all the switchgear and all the materials, even at the back, are fantastic. Even the lower part of the buttons over here and the controls is made of top quality material. Some manufacturers do cut costs because they think people will not pay too much attention, but over here you get a rubberized shelf to keep your cell phone, which means that if the driver is really ripping it on the road, this thing will not come out and the cell phone won't fly around. So that's a very thoughtful touch and just shows you Porsche's attention to detail. Well, special mention has to be made about the Bose sound system inside the car. It's phenomenal in terms of the music output, and it's very good in terms of clarity as well. And for audiophiles, it's something that you'll truly appreciate once you are inside this car. Now, talking about the back seat experience, what's also good about these seats is the fact that you can always slide them up forward, and even the backrest angle can be moved around a bit for your comfort as well as luxury. Now, the reason why you can move these seats forward, of course, is because if you want to put in those big boxes at the back, and in case your mother-in-law is coming from the airport and you want to accommodate all the luggage, even though the boot is pretty okay, you can of course make more room by moving these seats up or down. So let's see how big the boot really is on the Cayenne. Well, for all those of you who wait for this part of the video, I have good news for you. The boot on the Cayenne is exceptional in terms of the size as well as the shape. It's a huge boot, it's a massive boot, and there's absolutely no loading sill. Now, you might say that, it is quite high from the ground up, so you might have to put your back into it. For those people, you can always lower the suspension of this car by using this button here, because it has that air suspension setup, and all of a sudden it becomes as low as a sports car. So it really is very practical as well. You can easily load in those big bags without any issues, and for your trips to the airport, for picking up your mother-in-law, it is a sensational car in that department as well. Well, so really the proof of the pudding is in eating it, and I have to say that this is one tasty dish. Yes, no matter which engine you choose, you can be rest assured that this car will simply put a smile on your face. In fact, Porsche engineers really have defied the laws of physics, because to think that this is one big and bulky SUV is completely unbelievable, the kind of performance that this car gives, especially when you take it around bends, and especially when you decide to take it on the racetrack, or if you decide to take it up the hills. This is a great car to push into corners, because the handling is very agile, it's very neutral, and the steering wheel is as crisp as a packet of Pringle chips. It really is as crisp as that. So it really is a fantastic product. It's a great car for keen drivers. It's a great car for people who love to drive themselves. It's a great car to, as I just said, take up the hills. Now today, of course, we are driving the 3-liter V6, and I have to say that power is phenomenal. Now, even though it is a heavy and bulky car, it's a big car, it's got plenty of girth around it. It is easy to drive because the controls are nice and light. You can, of course, choose various settings for the drive mode here. You can choose to keep it in the normal setting, which means that the engine goes into relaxed mode. The steering wheel becomes a little light, and everything really does soften up. But of course, if you decide to really push this car hard, you can always put it in the sport mode or the sports plus mode, and the performance is absolutely first rate in that mode. As I just said, the engine and gearbox becomes really angry, and it feels like this car is meant for a purpose then, and the purpose is to attack the racetrack or to attack those hilly sections or simply to enjoy the driving experience. It's a car which simply loves to be revved hard. Yes, this V6 engine is very good in terms of its rev happy nature. No matter what kind of RPMs you push this car through, the engine always has loads of power, and in fact the red line has been marked at 7,000 RPM, and I have to say that this is one of those few cars which enjoys being stretched to 7,000 RPM, unlike a lot of other cars which tend to become very upset and tend to become loud and noisy. Now you also get an 8-speed automatic gearbox. It is, of course, Porsche's PDK technology, which means essentially that this car has 2 clutches, and you of course can use it in automatic mode if you're feeling lazy, or if you're feeling really agile and really sharp, you can use the pedal shifters here. And the pedal shifters really is the best way to use this gearbox because it feels lively. There's no lag whatsoever from the time you hit the pedal here and the gear actually changes, and it's just phenomenal in terms of the engineering. Now the chassis balance on the Porsche Cayenne is very good. It is a very agile chassis. Now if you want to change lanes quickly, this car will really help you do that. And the chassis on this car feels very taut. It feels very agile, and if you want to really move around, this car really does move like a housefly. It really does change directions as quickly as a housefly does. So despite its weight, it is unbelievable the kind of engineering that Porsche engineers have managed to put in this car. Now the suspension setup on the Cayenne is of course slightly on the firmer side. This car has no pretension about being a long distance comfort cruiser. It can do that, but this car is meant more for keen drivers, so it has that taut suspension setup. It is on the firmer side, so when you're driving it in the city at slow city speeds, even if you do lift up the suspension because it has that air suspension, even then you can feel some of those bumps and potholes. That is a slight downside. It's not a deal breaker, but of course you'll just have to manage those badly patched roads slightly better. Well, not only is it a great car for keen drivers, it's also great for comfort because there's no tire noise, there's no engine noise, and there's absolutely no wind noise. Of course you do get engine noise when you put it in sport mode and really rip that exhaust note, but apart from that, when you're cruising in the city, this car will really cocoon you. Well, if you're lucky enough to have this kind of cash lying around, I would suggest you simply go ahead and take a test drive of this car, or simply go ahead and book it. It offers you the on-road presence of an SUV, it offers you the comfort of a luxury saloon, but it also manages to offer you the driving pleasure of a true sports car. Yes, it has the Porsche DNA about itself. It is a great little package, and Porsche as a brand is something which dreams are truly made up of. It's a car which a lot of people have on their bedroom walls, a lot of kids have on their bedroom walls. So really, this is a car which you aim for, and if you are someone who's lucky enough to have this cash, go ahead and buy it. I give it a strong score of 91 out of 100, and it truly deserves all the accolades it's getting in the international media. It's bye for now, and hope to see you soon.